Hi, Aquarius. Okay, so there was this little bird singing. Happy February, by the way. Happy birthday, by the way. Now, you know what's interesting is I recorded you first, and then you disappeared. You were here and then you disappeared. But now you're here again, so I guess there's something to do with that. I don't know. Now, they're building a house next door. First card out, 5 of Cups. But you know what's nice about that? We also have Queen of Cups, Wheel of Fortune, and the 9 of Cups. Now, when you're building things, right, you have to make space, right? Like if humans left nature alone, then all the trees are there, all the animals are there, all the nests are there, all the plants are there, right? But if we as a human want to make a space on this earth, at least at this point, the way we perceive it is we have to destroy something to build something. Now, that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have to be that way, okay? It can be, and a lot of people do it that way, but you don't have to do it that way, okay? And I think that's what part of this is that well, there's someone that you're very emotionally connected to, okay? Excuse me. In this situation, in this time, this is more emotional than anything, Aquarius. And I sense that there's a reason. You're the only person I did readings outside for this time. It's actually warm enough. It's been freezing. Literally, there's been frost on the ground. But the thing is it's not perfectly quiet. It's not utterly harmonious, right? It's a little Uranian, actually. All these tools next door, the only reason why they work the way that they're working is because there's electricity. There's a lot of, like, well, it's becoming louder, I guess. Something is becoming louder, okay? Now, there was also a message when I began. Yeah, I saw this. 4 of Cups, more water. Wow, Aquarius. Let's keep going. I put the Wheel of Fortune in the center. I like that, okay? There's a reason for everything. Try not to question that too much, okay? But remember also to be patient, okay? Because what's being built, right? Like, say these people next door, for instance, right? They already have, they have a little trailer they live in. It was her great auntie's trailer. They appreciated it, right? Living there and being there. But now they want something, they want to build something new for themselves, right? Something bigger. Good. All the cards are in the upright, but we'll take this. So, if you want to build something bigger, you're ruled by Saturn too, okay? I see for a lot of you, you're overcoming your shadow via your patience, okay? And ways of building that house too. I don't know why this example's so big for you, but I guess that's what it needs to be. We have the 8 of Pentacles, building, right? Keeping consistent too, and the 4 of Swords, which I actually saw before. On the bottom is the 8 of Cups. Now, I see a lot of yellow here. The second color in charge is baby blue. We talked about this before. Lightening versus lightning, right? which you also rule. So, what do you want to do? You want to tear the whole fucking thing down? Or do you want to deal with whatever needs to be, the heavier things, the denser things, the loudness, the not so perfect Uranian, Aquarian, utopian mentality, right? Because that isn't what you can't, at this point in time, we can only find that inside of ourselves, right? It's the only place that we can find solace, or at least we have to find it there first, then we can figure out what it is that's going on, okay? I've said this to you before the last couple months, but there's something that all of, wherever Aquarius is and whoever's chart, it, for the collective, right, it represents something about doing something by yourself, which you, in a way, can represent the, Uranus is the liberator, okay? But the thing about that is you're also, again, ruled by Saturn, so you have to liberate slowly. If you try to liberate too fast, well, what happens? You would make a mess, right? And then you have to clean that up, and that's not utopian either. Interesting reading. Now, let me tune in a second. Well, I see you gain something in the future, okay? If you're willing to go slowly, if you understand that every nail, well, I guess to build a house, all right, yeah, you need a nail and you need a hammer, right, to start. But that nail needs to be made by someone, right? That needs to be taken from the earth. It needs, and then that's in a raw form, right? This metal, and then that metal needs to be alchemically maneuvered, right? And then it has to, someone has to make a form, and then there has to be heat involved and energy involved, and a perspective to what it is that you're trying to make. And this just has to do with the nail, okay? Which actually the nail can also be representational of the Hierophant in tarot, okay? And I heard the nail in the coffin. So, and I heard this also a little bit earlier, which is something about your putting something to bed and changing something, right? You're like putting the nail in the coffin and being like, okay, no more of this, whatever this is, no more. And it's right next to this one. It's like, no more of this, okay? No more. It's not to say that there won't be darkness in life. Of course, there's nighttime every night, right? We have to have an evening. Think about that word for a second. It's an evening, okay? But to build this house, and I guess I'm also seeing this as like a collective understanding, which is really cool. Thank you, Aquarius, right? We go through the whole process of making the nail. Then you have to go through the same process to make the hammer. You have to find the tree. You have to cut it down. You have to shape it. You have to form it. You also have to, again, find the metal and then make that form and then put that together. Then you have a hammer and a nail. But then you also have to have wood, right? If you're going to make it out of wood, if you're going to make it out of earth in this way, then you have to cut all those things down, right? And they have to be a particular... Turkey vulture. Hi, buddy. Just coasting. You know. Hi. You know, then you have to put those things together geometrically so something is sound, so something is safe and sound, right? But even when that happens, it's just the bare bones of something. And then what happens? Then we start filling it in, right? And some of those things that we fill in with, at least at this point in our life, in this society, whatever, this time, this day and age, some of those things are kind of unnatural in a way, right? Like one of the messages that came to me before I started your reading was about you being okay with something about the acceptance that not everything is perfect, that not everything will be perfect, that sometimes you end up doing things that aren't necessarily good for you, and other people do things that aren't necessarily good for them or for you in a kind of way, but also understanding that that's just part of the process, right? That's just part of the way the wheel goes around. And I really like that there's so many emotions here. The only swords here, which is your element, is the Four of Swords. So there's something that you have to, and this is the last position, okay? So you have to sift through, and I sense that probably until the next eclipse, like summertime or wherever you are, like Cancer season, you know, June, July, then something happens then, right? Something. And I sense that you want it to be something to be fixed by then. You want something, and you're a fixed sign, right? Which means in a way that when you're trying to change things, even though you're revolutionary about it, you kind of want them to change like that, and you kind of want them to stay that way if you decide. Because you're such an individual sign, right? You represent individuality, but there's a duality within you. You're ruled by two heavenly bodies, okay? And again, that Saturn is like, you need to be a little bit more patient. Okay? No offense. Everybody has Aquarius, you know? We have to understand that everyone's dealing with their shadow in their own kind of way. And we're all dealing with our shadows in combination with one another. Everyone we come across is helping us to understand what our structures are, and to help us build what it is that we need to build so that we can become higher, grow up towards the light, grow up, right? In a mature way, in a responsible way. Again, that's Saturn, right? Because I sense that there's something with Aquarius that just wants to do whatever it wants to do. And the South Node was in Aquarius the last year and a half. Now it's in Capricorn. So therefore, we have to stop being so like, well, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Well, what the fuck does that have to do with the tribe? It actually contradicts the tribe, right? Yes, everyone's entitled to have their own individual thought process about the situation, but the goal in itself is so much bigger than the individual. Right? There's a need to look at life in a collective sense now, right? This Cancer North Node is it's sensitive, you know, and depending on where it's transiting in your chart will make all the difference, but it still reflects and connects and affects us collectively, okay? I see that whatever it is that you're working on, right, the seeds that you've been planting, the seeds that you will be planting, I see that you should plant them with intention, okay? Like strong intention, like it's not about visualizing. How do I want to say it? You have to look at it in such a way that's like, just know that the seeds that you are planting now and what you have been planting, I sense for you, there's something about Uranus too, because Uranus is now, it's been in Aries for all of us. It was Uranus in Aries, which is a lot about the individuated self, okay? But now it's in Taurus. These are 7-year transits, okay? I see that has a lot to do with what it is that you're sorting out and what it is you'll be closing out. So I guess the last 7 years are very important. It's also what you're looking forward to the next 7 years. 7 also has to do with the Chariot, which is Cancer's card. I just split the deck to another 7. Okay, it's important not to be too defensive, to be too standoffish, to being like, because this is kind of like, I want to do this, get away from me. But if you do that, what happens is you end up, you have a possibility of kind of destroy, like I was saying before, there's something about like, you don't have to destroy something to be able to have something new. You just have to use your Uranian mind of being like, okay, how can we figure out how to go about this? But for you, with all these cups here, you have to go about it in a more emotion. You have to become more emotional. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you're not emotional, you don't have emotions. I'm saying all air signs, and wherever Aquarius or any air is in anyone's chart, is not emotional. It's not. It's the mental realm. It's air. Okay? And that's powerful, but it's sometimes, especially with Saturn there, what Saturn does is, if it doesn't like something, it pushes it underground. So you don't have to look at it, so we don't have to think about it, so we don't have to attend to it. But the thing is that's not allowed anymore. With the South Node in Capricorn, it's not allowed. Okay, we have to start looking at things in a more sweeter way, in a more faithful way, in a more vulnerable way. This may be an air card, but it also is very emotional, right? It has a lot to do with, they're both showing, like, putting their arms back, showing their heart, right? Like, and I think that you're really considering, like, what's going on in your heart. I know that there's someone, I see someone here that really does love you. I'm sure that there are multiple people that love you, okay? I also see for a lot of you, there's one particular person that's extremely tight to your soul, but there's also something about it that has, like, some sort of previous lesson, and at this point in time, there could be a lot of conflictual energy. Maybe that's why there's all this construction going on next door. There's something that's changing within that situation, but it doesn't have to be destroyed. Okay? It's like whatever you have been doing, if you continue to do what it is that you need to do and have faith on that journey, and to continue to drop your baggage, right? Drop your sadness, drop your solemn, because we all have it. No human is perfect by any means, okay? And really take note of, like, what is it that scares the shit out of me? What is it that scares me emotionally? If you can do that, then you free yourself. Okay? You can find some sort of, I heard, solace in the pain that you've had to endure, in the difficulties that maybe are going on. I sense that for here, the majority of feelings, and there's a lot of them, are, you have like one more step with something that you're working on, okay? It's like, but it all depends on how you go about it. I see that if you keep consistent and you keep focused, keep responsible, okay? That's again the Saturn, like, you want to do what you want to do, sure, good, great, but you have to consider how that affects other people, and try to figure out some sort of compromise to how to go about this, because if you can figure out what it is that you're scared about, okay? If you can figure out what it is that emotionally makes you, like, the things that still have hooks in your back, okay? And I actually just saw, like, when I think it's the Oglala Sioux do this, where the Lakota, right, where they cut down the cottonwood tree, and then all the men They put it in the center, and then there's strings coming off of it, kind of like a maypole. And they put little hooks in their arm, the men, and then they pull out. Okay? And they have to actually, to be able to release, they have to sacrifice a piece of their flesh, right? It's what it's about is, of course, this is a literal interpretation of how to express something and to connect to God and deplete the ego. But when we do that, what happens is we find that silence inside of ourselves that connects us higher to God. And actually, in your other reading, it had a lot to do with God, particularly Jesus, regardless of whatever you connect to, right? Even the Buddhists celebrate Christmas because they understand that he was a person of a great person of history that taught wonderful lessons to how to become an enlightened person. And to check in with yourself, whoever you are, in case you have any judgments about Jesus, something about this. Because regardless, again, of what you connect to, maybe that's part of the fear, right? Like, I can't combine those two things and equal, find a safe, I heard a safe place within there, a loving place within there, but you can. But you have to look at any kind of judgments you have of yourself or of others, individually speaking, and then also within religious context, okay? Because again, even if you're a New Ager or you're a Buddhist or you believe in Muhammad, you follow Muhammad, whatever it is, it's understanding that some things are meant to be taken literally, some things are meant to be taken metaphorically, but all things are meant to be taken in such a way with respect so that we can find our highest good, so that we can find that higher consciousness and connect to that. Again, not just for ourselves, because that's all ego, right? That's ego all day. That's a control, right? But to let go of that and to recognize that all things are beautiful and be honest about that, right? Even the hard things are really beautiful. And when we start to look at what it is that's blocked us and what it is that we've had to, just the difficulties that we've had to go through, well, then that shows us great strength in, well, how to respond differently in ways of our actions in life to be able to find a different emotional space, because your brain, you're so heady, right? Like, if you just stay in the mental realm of like, well, I think this, you know, I've done a bunch of thinking, I've done a bunch of meditating, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. But the thing is this is still a top here, which shows that at any point in time, at least during this time, that things can just flip a rooney whenever, because we're talking about the emotions. And that's where fear lies, right? Now, I see for most of you, work is slow and steady. Just a second. This just came out for those of you who like tarot on the ground. And these ones. Wow. Holy Toledo. I know you're trying to find, because you have no wands here, right? I know you're trying to find what your passion is. You're like, where's my passion? What am I dedicated to passionately? And I think sometimes I think that Aquarius thinks that that needs to change all the time. And maybe it does, but again, it doesn't mean that you have to destroy what it is that you love already. It doesn't have to be destroyed. Okay? Say you love your job, right? but your job for some reason isn't bringing in the money that you want, or it's too slow for whatever reason, well, that doesn't mean that you have to go out and get a new job. Maybe it means that you have to organize yourself in a different way. Maybe you need to dedicate yourself in a different way to something to be able to make it more stable, which in essence, maybe to you, because electricity rules you, maybe when something becomes too stable, too steady, you're like, no, that's not, I heard that's not fucky enough for me. No offense. But like, it's not as random, you know? So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about stability? What is that to you? Okay? And again, maybe that's part of the fear, like, oh shit, if something's too stable, that actually makes me kind of sad. I feel like for some of you, stability, particularly in the physical world, makes your emotions get heavy. And the thing is that's just something you need to sort out in yourself. Like, why are you not cool with that? And how do you become cool with changing that? Because you can still be really revolutionary and inspiring and different, right? Radical in your own way, in your own person every day. But trying to get everyone else to behave like that and to be that for you, if everyone believed the same thing, eventually there would come a time where someone's opinion would shift and it wouldn't be a part of the group. Well, then there's a blockage, right? It's like, again, with that North Node in Cancer, we have to start thinking about the tribe and how that tribe is going to exist, right? How it's going to be able to sustain itself, because you have to keep stability. If everything's constantly changing, well, where's the stability? Right? And how do you also combine stability? Well, how do you define stability? And how do you, because I sense in a way when something becomes too stable, you want to cut yourself free of it. Why? Why is that? Because it's just you in your head. It's not anybody else, it's just you in your head. Right? I heard don't give up on anything that you're doing right now. Okay? You don't need to. If you give up on something that you're doing right now, you're doing yourself a disservice. You do have 2 4s here, so at least until April, maybe you got to do some thinking about what it is that we just talked about. Okay? Yeah. I know the contracts you have with people, I want you to note this Temperance card and Justice, okay? It's like you can fix something without destroying something, okay? Maybe you're just going through a big, there's just a test. Because one of your old ancient symbols for Uranus is the Sun and Mars. It has a circle with a dot in the middle with an arrow on top. Okay? I've always seen you and Pisces as fiery signs underneath it all. Okay? So, maybe for a lot of you, you're sorting something out. Maybe the father really has something to do strongly with, could be your 10th house too, but, and your ascendant, but that's another story. The point is that this goes back to the 4s, okay? 4 is about stability. For those of you who also are in a committed relationship, I heard don't give up on that just yet. Okay? I sense that you're going through a test in yourself. Of course, this is the relationship with you, so try not to, you know, because maybe part of it is you are where you are, and then in your growth process, and then you want to switch something real fast and try something new, and like, that's cool, but again, what's wrong with, what's up with the stability? What's up with the, what's the deal with your judgment on stability? Maybe you got to figure out where did you learn stability from? What was stability? Because I heard for some of you, stability was shown to you, the masculine, right? The emperor. Stability somehow or another was shown to you through aggression. And so I think that maybe that when you start to feel too stable, maybe you start to become aggressive. Maybe you want to break free of that, right? Like, I'm the emperor. I want to be free. I'm in charge. But that isn't how you make a tribe. Right? That isn't how you make a tribe. We have to let go of that kind of control. Which again, remember, you come after Capricorn, you're also ruled by Saturn. We have to let go of that kind of control. It blocks us too much, and again, it's just a story in your mind. But I want you to know that you can succeed in healing that, in going a little bit slower with things, in understanding that other people actually have your back, and that you're allowed to continue the relationships that you have and have people help you along the path. Okay. Okay. Deep. These ones just came out. And just for fun, so you know, these ones. But then after that, here we go. Winning. Okay. Finally finding that contentment in actually understanding that slow and steady does win the race, Aquarius. Love you. Take care. Peace.